So let's get further on the roller coaster. Let's get Richard on stage. And Richard was the one, come on stage, Richard. He was the one who last year told us about ICO, that it was going to be, that it was happening. And then after you left, the whole explosion happened. I mean, you did Bancor, you did a couple of famous ones. Yeah. And then later I saw you popping up everywhere in the ICO scene.
Well, hold on. One thing I want to stop, because I object to many things that Bruno said, actually.
Yeah, so that's why you're here.
I am here to actually, because Bruno's job is to scare people, so you hire him to solve problems. Obviously, he's a consultant. So, I mean, first of all, there's 4,000 ICOs, not 1,000. So the numbers are completely wrong. Second of all, I am an ICO bench advisor in the top 15, and I'm not a shill. Okay, I'm working on projects around medicine, health. I'm working with a project in Hollywood. I'm working on a project in Bollywood. I'm working on projects that don't even need Bitcoin at all, that don't even need blockchain at all, actually. And it's great, because you know what? We don't need blockchain necessarily. That's not necessarily what an ICO is all about. You know, the project I'm working on in Bollywood in India, we want to disrupt the 5 companies that run Indian Hollywood, that run Bollywood. We want to create an independent film funding community that uses cryptocurrency to raise funding for new films. This is also what I'm doing in Hollywood. I can't tell you who I'm working with, but it's a similar project. So coming back to Bruno again, calling everybody on ICO bench the top advisors all shills is I think, very prejudicial and completely out of order. And now I've been fuming over there listening to that. But
well, at least you could be on stage and you could just basically
at least I could defend it, because you know, I'm an optimist. I'm not a pessimist when it comes to this business. When I started in ICOs, you know, we used to raise like 300,000 to do a pre-sale, and we used to call that the family and friend round. You know, that was how we kicked it off. And then we would go out and we would raise money for a project conservatively. I mean, some of them went crazy. Bancor went absolutely crazy. But you know, normally it was about open source. It was about open source software. It was about foundations, nonprofit foundations. It wasn't about where it is now. And where are we now? We're seeing the institutional investors, and it's not dirty money like he's talking. Well, it is kind of dirty money, because it's companies like Goldman Sachs. It's institutional investors that are coming in and investing in the pre-sales. It's not who he says it is, money laundering, you know, dodgy mafioso. No, it's actually institutional investors through Polychain and companies like that that are coming in. 60% of all the money raised now in ICOs is coming in the private pre-sale, which is what we used to call the family and friends round. Why? Why? Because they want to be there. That's where all the arbitrage is. They're making the most money. They're getting, you know, the biggest bonuses there. So in a way, it's a good thing. You know, we are seeing institutional investors coming in. They are moving this way. Wall Street is moving this way. I know that for a fact. I talked to Dr. John Clippinger from MIT yesterday. He's advising 2 major Wall Street hedge funds, and they're definitely bullish. They're seeing decentralized exchanges in the future with tokens that are combination that use artificial intelligence to create balance. We're talking about really smart tokens now. We're moving into another era. I could certainly agree with DICO, though. It's one thing Bruno did mention, and I do think that ICO founders should be accountable, and they should be have money trickled out to them, because they have. I mean, I myself have caught a scam. You know, I used to troll around Bitcoin Talk, and I actually found a scam by actually reversing the CEO's photo in Photoshop and then sending it through Google image search, and it was a completely different person. It had nothing to do with the ICO. And then I reversed all the photos of the whole team, and there were all these different people who had nothing to do with the ICO. So, I mean, there are scams out there. There have been scams out there. I'm not saying there isn't. But I'll tell you something. We live in an era now where we all have our mobile phones. We all have access to information. He said, who can help you with your searches? Smith & Crown, ICO rating, 2 companies right there. Third-party services that actually rate and really judge ICOs. Smith & Crown in particular is very reliable. But we also have a sense of due diligence in our own, you know, we crowdsource due diligence in our community. That's how I like to think about it. I mean, that's what we used to do at Bitcoin Talk last year. It was like run around and like just everybody would absolutely batter the next ICO that was coming out. Just, you know, is this legitimate? Is this CEO? We were actually checking things out ourselves because we didn't want to get ripped off as a community. Of course, those were the good old days. Now it's blown up so big that it's impossible to do that anymore, and we're looking more towards third-party services to do these kind of analyses for us, and they are out there. So when people talk about all ICOs being scams, I just have to say, I've heard this before. They said the same thing about Bitcoin. They said the same thing about the internet. They say the same thing about every other new thing that comes up because people, they don't believe in it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So,
Rant over.
did that go off your chest? What do you really think? No, it's okay. I mean, how did your journey go from here? Because, I mean, I'm happy to say that because I really was looking forward to have Bruno next to Richard. I mean, I thought that was going to be fantastic because you need to have all the different sides of the coin. But where are we with the ICOs? Because you say you're optimistic. And you say, but there is fraud, but there's fantastic project, there's real money walking in, there's real teams solving real problems. We are here, our theme of this conference is to go from POC to production. You know, when is this money which flew in, last year and this year, when will they start showing systems which really work? When do you
what do you mean by systems? That's interesting too.
Well, there's problems.
Okay, Bollywood is not a system or what we're doing there. I think it's stuff that 2018 is the year when things are going to happen. I think Q3, Q4, we're going to start seeing a lot more production stuff coming out. But there's stuff already out there that you can use. Golem, Storj. I mean, there's a lot of things out there that were built last year that are working.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like nothing works out there.
No. But I mean, what kind of influence do they have? So first you have the product, and then they have to have traction, and then we have to see what changes. For example, you said
Storj.
Storj. How many? What is it shared?
Yeah, you could share. It's distributed storage.
Yeah. So you
and Golem is distributed CPU power. So
And how big is that growing? How fast is the take up on that?
To be honest with you, I'm not participating in either of those communities, so I can't give you an accurate number of their growth.
But then we want to see when that really happens. But and I think 2000. So next year, will we see ICOs which are really doing something and are making a change so that everybody goes, wow? Like Pradeep from Solve.care. Can he say he wants to next year be there and hundreds of thousands of patients and thousands of doctors are using his stuff to get clear?
Well, I hope so, and that's what the liquidity is for.
Yeah.
And why not spend money on great things and testing new ideas and testing the boundaries of what we can do with blockchain rather than being constricted in some venture capitalist world where only accredited investors who make over $200,000 a year and need to have like $1 million in assets can only participate. That's not fair. That's not democratized investment. This is what we're about. We're about democratizing. If you bought into Ethereum in the pre-sale, you would have paid 30 cents.
Yes, but did you not say that now all the ICOs have a private placement and 80% is bought up by the big guys again?
Yeah, so we're going back to that, and that's one of the things I don't like. And we're actually moving now towards what we call securitized tokens, which is really going back towards where we were in the beginning, which is basically equity.
Yeah.
So,
is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know. I think we're going to, to me, I'm an idealist, right? I come from the open source, foundation-driven, idealistic. This is about, I was in the open source movement for a long time, and we used to laugh saying the only currency we have is ego, because you build stuff and people use it, and it's cool, right? But now, finally, with ICOs, we're like, yeah, man, we could actually really raise real money and do real things with it and build open source stuff that we like and move on with it. But now, this kind of dream has been kind of shattering in a way as we're watching the institutional guys coming in, the big boys.
It's like the internet. The internet were also wonderful open source guys. They did great. And then suddenly the companies came in. The companies came in, and Amazon, and now they're basically taking over the world.
I think we're going to see dual tracks.
Okay.
We're going to have a whole ecosystem. Part of the ecosystem is going to move into the dark web. Where all the guys that that want to remain anonymous, because that's how we started, right? Anonymous investors. It was all the guys that were making money from Bitcoin and whales. You don't know who they are, or where they're from, the Chinese guys or whatever, miners. So it was all very dodgy in a sense that it was anonymous investment. But I think that's going to probably move to the dark web. There's going to be kind of a legitimate middle track where you're going to have like ICOs that are foundation driven, very idealistic around health or around poverty reduction. Banking for the bankless and those kinds of things. And then you're going to have this hardcore Wall Street, London City, Amsterdam, Frankfurt moving into the space where they're going to basically tokenize the world. That's essentially what's going to happen. We're going to tokenize digital assets, we're going to tokenize real world assets, and it's going to all take place on these new decentralized exchanges that are going to be balanced and probably remain liquid and not too volatile by the use of a combination of artificial intelligence and blockchain technology.
Yeah, and it's all going to be regulated, and that part is going to be nicely.
I'm actually I'm a proponent of self-regulation for the industry, but because I think it's a global thing. So what are you going to do, right? If we as an industry are global, we can regulate ourselves on a global basis. But if you're talking about a regulatory environment, well, hey, where do I want to go? Seychelles? Do I want to go to Malta? Do I want to go to Holland? Do I want to go to England? Do I want to go to the States? I mean, I got choices, right? Regulators are nationally based. This is a global phenomenon.
Yeah. Because that is one of the nice things about ICOs. You can get money from all over the world. If people like your product, if like your proposition, they can invest.
Just don't piss off the SEC. That's it.
Yeah. Well,
so that means basically everybody says no American investors, because you're always going to take the chance of like some American, with a class action suit, unhappy about it, and then the SEC is going to run out there.
Yeah. So
and protect
how many of the ICOs say, if you're an American, please don't invest? How many?
No, not even please. No, IP ban America.
IP ban.
Yeah, I would say 90% of them are not taking American investors.
Yeah, 90%.
90%.
Huh? Yeah, so everybody's afraid of the regulator
Everybody's
in
afraid
America.
of the SEC. Well, they got the biggest guns, right? Mm-hmm. So dollars backed by bullets, right?
Hey,
so
this happened in 1 year. Okay, you went from, in 2015 there was Ethereum, who did actually the first ICO sort of, and then 2016 was sort of very slow, and then the DAO, and then 2017 started to explode, and now 2018 is even much bigger.
Now it's crazy.
And now it's crazy. So
well,
where will we?
India's coming in now. That's even like it's just a absolute. There's like 150,000 JavaScript developers in Bangalore that can easily transition to Solidity, which is the language for Ethereum.
Yeah.
And they're just exploding onto the scene right now.
Yeah. So it's like the internet starting up.
Yeah.
So where we will be next year?
Next year we're going to.
When you're standing here, and you will report of your journey then next year.
Securitized tokens. Wall Street's in. That's it. And they're gonna push for DICO. They're gonna control just like they do with VC.
It's going to be a respectable business and normal respect. It's going to be regulated.
I like the power and I like the more control in the hands of the innovators.
I know. Cool.
So rather than total control by the VC, which can be detrimental to the product because the shareholders are always first in many cases, which isn't always good for the product itself. So I like it when the innovators are at the helm, and I think that's the previous speaker. That's exactly why he wants to do an ICO, because he's steering the ship.
Yeah, he wanted to stay independent. He had experience with the VCs, and the VCs are very interesting, but they also can be a big pain. They can be a big pain.
Well, yeah.
But it's going to be next year a respectable business. By the normal people will come in, the governments will start regulating, they'll figure out something about regulation. And will you be then moving to this island of Peter Thiel, where they are going to start a new country?
I'm not a libertarian. Trust me. I'm kind of like living in Malta a little bit, but I'm kind of hanging out there. But
and you now live in.
I'm actually in Groningen, so I'm
a Canadian in Groningen, who's now one of the biggest ICO experts, and he advises the top 15 and a lot more. Thank you very much for coming to Utrecht. Thank you for your rant.